is Michael J. Martin, and you're listening to the Gary Russin Program on GJRB Online.
Okay, we're back with another edition, another part of the program. This is the best of the Gary Russin Program on GJRB Online, and we pick up on our next part with what I just talked about earlier. I found it. It was that I had got the wrong part of the last Gary Russin Program that was on. This was July 15th Gary Russin Program Part 2. And as I was explaining to you earlier, I am doing something different when I start the new 45-minute continuous programming here. Is what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to cut on the part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on most of my programs. The only exception is going to be this program. The Gary Russin Program will continue to be part 1, 2, 3, because the reason for this is because when I'm doing this best of show, I need to find what part has the segment that I liked. Especially if I'm doing this best of show, I need to know where to locate certain segments and memorable segments to the show. So I decided what I'd do is continue doing part 1, part 2, part 3. But then again, the rest of the shows, I really don't have to do that, especially my music shows. And this gives me a chance sometimes to do my songs in reverse order, and what in the business is called voice tracking. I can take a lot of these shows, edit them such a way to make it sound like that I'm live. A lot of automated radio stations do that, and I would do that only when I need it. It would be there, and I could run the program nonstop. Or I could be on what sounds like I'm on all day when I'm pre-recorded and maybe I'm live for a while. And there's a lot of stations that do that now. Anyway, we're headed to that point now. We're going to play this. This is a really good piece, actually. Concerning that story about Bo Bergdahl. Now, remember, I told you that story earlier in the first part. They say that he did desert his post. That he indeed deserted his post and went to the other side. And a lot of them are calling him a traitor. And Bo Bergdahl, at that time, went to the White House. And he said that prayer to Allah. I'm not going to play that because I don't think I even have it anymore. I'll have to look for it. But I really don't see the point in playing that because we've already known. And he visited the White House once again. But this is from, this goes back to July 15th. And this is where Bo Bergdahl talked about him deserting his post. Bo Bergdahl has been reinstated into the services. He's going to be in Texas, and they say he's going to have a desk job. The Pentagon spokesman stated that it's going to be a desk job, and they're doing this until they can determine whether or not he was a prisoner of war, or if he defected, or if he went AWOL. They're going to be still determining whether or not he went AWOL or not. They are still kind of looking at that. They're saying the possibility that he could have been kidnapped. They're looking at that possibility. So, I mean, Bergdahl is still getting kind of a reprieve, another second chance. But it's really right now under investigation. You know, here's the deal. I think that's the right thing to do. I think that is a right thing to do. Because here's the situation, okay? We don't know. All we know is, based on the story that I gave you on an earlier broadcast about a month or so ago, when that whole thing happened, and I covered that story. At that time, I had the idea maybe that he did defect. There was proof that he had defected. I don't know if there was proof that he defected, but the exchange with Guantanamo Bay with the other prisoners. But they're looking at it now because, see, his buddies found his uniform gone. His gun was abandoned, and they thought he got maybe went AWOL, but and went to the other side. The investigation further stated that possibly that's what he did, but now they're looking into it to see whether or not he might have been kidnapped by Taliban. Or something or other. So we're looking at that as a possibility that maybe perhaps he got kidnapped by the Taliban, taken away. Sorry about that. I had to move my headphones around to my other ear. Because I told you before about a month ago, I've been having that problem still with my ear. And I can hear on that side, but not quite as good as I hear on my right side. So I kind of flipped the earphone over, and in the process, I kind of caused a static, a little feedback. A little squeaking there. Sorry about that. Don't mean to do that. In the ear, so that's when so that I could flip it over. But anyway, what do you think about that? What do you think? You think Bergdahl abandoned ship, went to the other side, or do you think that maybe perhaps he was kidnapped? See, that's the thing. We really don't know. Okay, we really don't know. And it's possible he did, but really don't know. Have no idea. So I'm gonna be talking about that today, this portion of the show. Also, let's look at other interesting stories in the news. This comes out of right-wing news, and again, it looks like he will probably go down in history. This is President Obama. He's going to go down in history as the worst president ever elected. Bill Clinton was the African-American president of a blow. They're talking about the story about a black Chicago resident who's blasting Obama for choosing illegal aliens over Americans. He's got a good point. I'm going to read this here a couple of minutes. Let's see. This is an interesting article. I got to check this out. This comes out of right-wing news. Story about the fact that there's a story here talking about how Obama. Now, a lot of people aren't happy with the president. There's groups, and as a matter of fact, it says right now, though, the president right now, even the groups that supposedly to be his core supporters, are not happy with him right now. No one seems to be happy with him right now. His brilliant plan for the illegal immigration of children move over the borders is making a lot of people mad, including black Chicago resident who's blasting Obama. This is according to a right-wing article. And it states that he's going to go down as one of the worst presidents ever. Didn't they say that about, like, Bush? Okay. Today, if you look at the time that brought he goes on to say that today, if you look at the time when we were brought here as slaves 400 years ago, we got the same results today. Do something for our children and have the same love for those people. Again, I say, people get jumped up when I read that. Do our children and the same love for those young people like you got for the ones that crossed the border and you want to save them. Okay? Do something for our children. That's what it's saying. It goes on to say, again, I say that we will probably go down as the worst president ever elected. Bill Clinton was the African-American president. It's hard to understand that Obama hopes to achieve through this statement, according to this article. His sanctioned invasion of our country, beyond possibility of more votes for Democrats down the line, But the reality of the situation is clear, but these illegal immigrant children may very well be able to have a better life here. But it's at the expense of the American citizens. And shouldn't the Americans be priority for this president? Shouldn't the Americans be priority for this president? And that's from a black resident blasting Obama on this whole immigration thing. Wow. Check that out. So, I'll post that. And that is from July 15th, 2014, about Bo Bergdahl and the fact that he abandoned his post. Recent story come out, and it's been updated. And as you know, as a matter of fact, it's true. He got a dishonorable discharge and a slap on the wrist. Pretty much all he got. He had dishonorable discharge and like no consequences there. I mean, unless, getting discharged from the service was his punishment, but should have got a whole heck of a lot worse. Wouldn't you think? I mean, he defected. He went to the other side. It used to be you're charged for treason. Back in the day, you was hung. You were shunned by the country. And now you can turn your back on America. It's okay. Wow. Okay, we continue. You're listening to the best of the Gary Russett program on GJRB. And this is where we go back and remember some of the best moments of our show. And we've been doing that since the beginning of the year. We started on January 9th. And we continue doing retro of 2014's Gary Russett program. Well, now we're going to kind of go update a little bit. We're quickly kind of running through this. I'm listening through some shows, especially going into December. We're going to play some of those. Not much there. And then we're going to play the one we did about, what was that, 2 weeks ago? When was that? We did that 23rd of January. 23rd of January was like about... Yeah, about a week or so ago, about almost 2 weeks ago, when I was on the air here, and we'll play that. It's pretty good. It's coming up, where I had problems with the computer at that day. We had what I call Jabba the Hutt. We were getting that issue with... the shockwave going down. It kept on crashing me, kept on knocking me off the air. Had a lot of problems with it, and updated it. Got a little bit of problem there, so we almost got a worm out of it again. And then it's now working. So, no problem there. I kind of think just... Anyway, it's working, so I ain't worried about it. But we'll play that. And coming up, we'll go back to November 21st for a news and comment about Obama's executive order. And Krauthammer didn't write down exactly why I wrote this. He was on Bill O'Reilly, and I don't remember why. Then I started griping about how this Spreaker doesn't pick up anything off the internet. But I'm working on that. To fix that issue, my own technical self. So maybe I'll come up with it. But let's kind of jump to September. We're going to go to September 9th, 2014. On that show, had a bit of an issue. First of all, I didn't turn on my microphone. As you can tell, it didn't turn on my microphone. And I was explaining about BHC Community Magazine. That's the theme.